Discover the incredible hidden lineage of Moses' son, a transforming story of divine redemption. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, when darkness shrouded the land of Egypt and the cries of the oppressed echoed through its valleys, the son of Moses wandered the streets of Goshen, grappling with the weight of his lineage. Gershom, a boy born amid the tumult of oppression, felt the shadows of his father's legacy loom over him. He had heard whispered legends from his mother Zipporah, how Moses, a shepherd once banished from the palace, had become the chosen instrument of God. Yet amidst tales of burning bushes and plagues that befell Pharaoh's house, Gershom felt tethered in uncertainty. The air hung heavy with the laments of Israelite workers, their backs bent under the weight of bondage. Gazing upon their suffering, Gershom's heart throbbed with a growing fervor. "O God, what could you want of me?" he prayed under the breath of a cruel sun. The cries of his people ignited a longing within him, a longing to pursue the promise that one day they could dwell in a land flowing with milk and honey. Was he not a son of Moses? Was divine deliverance not also marked upon him? One evening, as shadows deepened over the encampment, he chanced upon a gathering of elders nestled under a fig tree. Their murmurs brushed against the stillness of night, reverberating with tales of a coming release. "A deliverer will rise," they spoke, their eyes kindling with hope. Yet doubt melted his hope into a puddle of fear. Had he not tasted the bitterness that engulfed them? Did he have the strength to foster change, like his father had done? Then, in desperate silence, Gershom withdrew to the riverbank, seeking solace beneath the waning moon. As he knelt in humble prayer, an epiphany washed over him, revealing a truth that shimmered in the darkness. He was part of God's redemptive tapestry, woven into a plan greater than himself. The boy felt a stirring of courage ignite his heart, yet trepidation gripped him. What voice could he offer against Egypt's might? Suddenly, a resounding tremor shook the air, echoing like distant thunder. Bright light pierced the veil of night, and Gershom beheld a figure luminous standing before him. It radiated holiness, an angelic messenger of the Almighty. "Go beyond, young one," it intoned, voice enveloping him like silver bells. "For your lineage is not mere legacy but the lineage of promise. You are called as a beacon of hope." Before he could respond, panic surged within him, muffled doubts clawing at his resolve. What if he stumbled? What if the weight of expectation became too much? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As dawn approached, the sun rose red like fire, igniting the horizon with possibilities and peril. Gershom gazed upon the land stretched wide before him, a mingling of fear and determination swelling within. The shadows of oppression lingered still, yet a soft whisper echoed in his heart, a promise of liberation and hope. Could he truly answer a divine calling, and would he, a fragile sojourner, rise to change the course of destiny? As he took a tentative step into the unknown, the question hung in the air like morning mist. What role would he play in the unfolding story of redemption? The journey ahead awaited, filled with mystery, purpose, and a legacy yet unwritten. As the sun ascended, casting rays of gold across the fields of Egypt, Gershom felt the weight of his decision resettle upon him. He was determined to seek his purpose. The angel's words thrummed within his soul, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the shadows that lurked in his mind. Trembling but resolute, he turned away from the riverbank, setting his feet on a path toward the elders' gathering. Gershom approached the gathering, where faces weathered by toil now glimmered with anticipation. "Elders of Israel," he called, his voice reverberating with a newfound strength. "I have come to share the word I received last night." At his mention of revelation, the murmurs stilled, and ears turned eagerly toward him. A wise elder named Jethro, bearing the wisdom of many years, beckoned him closer. "Speak, young son of Moses. We are weary, yet hungry for the truth. With clarity illuminating his heart, Gershom recounted the angelic encounter, describing the luminous figure and the stirring message of hope. As he spoke, he sensed a palpable shift among the elders, their hearts responding to the fire of divine purpose within him. The air thrummed with energy, the promise of hope stirred in their hearts like a gentle wind through the fields. Could it be, an elder mused, that in this boy, God is raising us a deliverer, just as he did with Moses? His words held weight, and the thought rippled through the gathering, igniting a fire of collective hope within their souls. Yet amidst the rising fervor, doubt crept into Gershom's heart once more. "What if I am not worthy?" he interjected, the tremor in his voice revealing his internal struggle. "What if I falter as I pursue this call? I am but a child, longing to know my place." Jethro stepped forward, placing a steady hand upon Gershom's shoulder. "The Lord does not demand perfection but a willing heart. You carry the blood of a champion within your veins. Remember, it is not your strength but his that shall prevail. Take heart, for God's plans are often fulfilled through unlikely vessels." Encouraged by Jethro's insight, Gershom felt a resounding harmony resonate within him. He was not alone in this calling. The spirit of his forefather, Moses, coursed through him, entwining his destiny with that of his people. "Then I shall go," he declared, a fervor alighting in his spirit. "I will seek out those who suffer and strive to bring forth change." As day brightened into fullness, Gershom turned towards the horizon, where the shadow of Pharaoh's city loomed ominously. The plight of his people echoed in the corners of his mind, and he knew the journey would not be easy, yet faith surged in his veins like a mighty river, compelling him forward. "Let us gather our brethren," Jethro instructed, "and bring forth a unity of purpose. Each voice counts in the melody of redemption." And so, blessed by the elders, Gershom began to rally the Israelites, gathering strength in their unity, praying fervently. Yet unbeknownst to him, dark clouds gathered in Pharaoh's heart, with a fierce determination to silence any whispers of rebellion. As plagues harbored against the horizon, unseen forces of darkness prepared to confront the light rising within Gershom. The fate of a nation trembled on the edge of a knife. For whom would God choose to usher forth freedom? As Gershom knelt once more in humble prayer, the conviction grew within him. A sacred destiny awaited his response. But at what cost? Little did he realize, the ultimate plan of God was an expansive tapestry, intricately woven with threads of both trials and miracles, for a deliverer was destined to rise. A new chapter was about to unfold, revealing dynamic forces in the heavenly realms. Would Gershom rise to his calling and usher deliverance, or would fear lead him astray? The sands of time shifted beneath his feet, teeming with risk, uncertainty, and the weight of a promise yet unfurling. As the gathering began to take shape under the watchful eyes of the elders, Gershom moved among the people with a fervent spirit ignited by purpose. The weight of their suffering pressed upon him like an unshakable burden. Each sorrowful gaze that met his only deepened his resolve. "We must unite, my brethren," he proclaimed, the fervor of the Spirit burning bright within him. "Our cries have reached the heavens, and the God of our fathers has not forgotten us." With every word, the crowd around him grew in both number and spirit, the restless energy of hope intermingling with their long-standing despair. Some nodded in agreement, while others wept softly, believed anew. They felt it, that palpable presence of divine promise in the air. Yet, amidst the rising tide of anticipation, there lingered a shadow, a hidden threat lingering far from their midst. From the palace, Pharaoh sat upon his throne, a scowl etched deeply within his brow. Dark whispers traveled through the chambers of power, as advisors painted the threat of rebellion with strokes of urgency. "These Israelites," one spat, "they grow restless. An insurrection is fermenting among them, led by this boy Gershom. We must act swiftly, lest they rally and birth a new power among them." Pharaoh's heart hardened like the ancient stones surrounding him, but within that heart, a primal fear brewed. The trembling of his kingdom's foundation quelled his thoughts, forcing a decision that would bring about unmatched fury against the Israelites. "Let them build brick upon brick, but I will add to their toil," We shall crush this rebellion and break their spirit, he declared, an ominous glint igniting within his eyes. Unbeknownst to Gershom, the winds had already begun to shift. He felt a nagging unease reverberate within the depths of his spirit. "Brothers and sisters," he spoke, raising his arms to gather their attention. "A challenge awaits us. Pharaoh will not relinquish his grip easily. Let us strengthen each other in prayer and devotion, for we are not without hope. Our God is a God of deliverance, and his hand shall guide us through the shadows." As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of fiery red and soft purple, the community prayed with earnest hearts, seeking favor extended from their Creator. Gershom felt the resonance of their supplications, an irresistible holy chorus reaching toward heaven. Yet even as hope kindled among the people, the shadow of doubt crept into Gershom's heart once again. Was he up to the task? The weight of the Israelite cry lay heavy upon his youthful shoulders. "What can I begin? Who will listen to my words?" he murmured, seeking solace in a silent corner beneath an ancient olive tree. As twilight set upon the land, Gershom closed his eyes and surrendered to God, whispering fervent prayers. In that intimate moment, the heavens opened, weighty clouds parting to reveal a glimmer of truth. "Stand firm, my son," a voice reverberated softly yet powerfully, surrounding him in an embrace of love and fortified purpose. "You are not alone in this. The plans I have for you are woven with threads of liberation and glory. Fear not, for I shall deliver your people through your hands." With newfound courage, Gershom opened his eyes to see the light cut through the darkness, but even that light was shadowed with the foreboding unknown. The battle was only beginning, a cosmic struggle involving the fate of his people and the weight of an oppressive ruler. And so, the winds of destiny began to swirl, foreshadowing trials that would test every resolve. The tapestry of God's redemptive plan was unfurling, intricately woven through the threads of faith, doubt, and divine revelation. Would Gershom step forth in faith or be ensnared by the tightening grip of fear? For the deliverance of a nation waited, and in the depth of night, the final prophecy threatened to unfold, intertwining the fates of those who dared to believe. As dawn broke over the land of Goshen, a soft light illuminated the faces of the assembled people. Hope flickered like a candle in the gathering stillness. Gershom stood among them, his heart renewed by the promise of the night. "Fear not," he proclaimed, his voice steady and firm. "The Lord speaks through us, and we shall stand against the oppression, for he will fight for us, even as David slew Goliath with but a stone. Trust in him, for our deliverance is at hand." The people murmured amongst themselves, a swell of belief replacing the shadows of doubt that had lingered. Yet, unbeknownst to them, Pharaoh's edict was dispatched with cruel swiftness. The burdens upon the Israelites would multiply as he sought to quench the embers of rebellion. In Pharaoh's chamber, a calculated fury filled the air as he summoned his chief taskmaster. "Double the workload upon these Jews," he commanded. "Let them know the weight of their folly. Let them build the treasures of my empire while I stifle their hope. They think their cries reach heaven? We shall make their voices mere whispers in the storm of my power." Meanwhile, Gershom gathered the elders beneath the canopy of olive trees once more. "Brothers," he urged, fire igniting in his veins, "if the burden increases, so must our faith. For every stone laid upon our backs, let it be a reminder that our cries resonate with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He shall not forsake his covenant." Then came Miriam, Gershom's sister, with eyes ablaze, her spirit undaunted. "Let us not only endure, let us act," she exclaimed. "We will oppose the darkness with song and prayer. For as it is written in the book of Psalms, 'The Lord is my strength and my shield. In him my heart trusts.'" With her words, the community found courage, and they began to sing. Their songs, rising like incense to the heavens, were mingled with their labor and prayers. The harmonious cries pierced the atmosphere of despair, igniting a new spirit among the Israelites. They stood tall with a steadfast heart, and even in their toil, they sang of their God who would lead them out of bondage. As the day progressed, Pharaoh, upon hearing of their singing, raged with indignation. "They dare mock me with their songs?" His words tightened like a noose around his heart. "Increase their burdens further. They shall find no joy in their suffering. Let them feel the iron of my hand." That night, As the stars glittered like promises across the vast sky, Gershom sought the Lord once more. Alone, he knelt upon the dusty ground. Lord, your plans stir within me, yet my heart trembles. The path before us grows ever more treacherous. What shall I say to deliver the people? In the stillness, the voice of the Lord came forth once again, clear and resonant. Behold, Gershom, you are a vessel of my purposes. I have raised you for such a time as this. My words shall manifest in you like the fire on the altar. Speak boldly, and I will give you the words to declare liberation. With the dawn's light creeping upon him, Gershom's resolve solidified. He understood now that he would stand before Pharaoh himself, aligning his voice with heaven's decree. He was to be the instrument of God's liberation, a calling to rouse the hearts of his people from their slumber of fear. As he rose with newfound purpose, the weight of history pressed upon his shoulders. Yet, woven through every moment was the invisible hand of God guiding him toward destiny. In the echoes of their suffering, a symphony of redemption began to play, a destiny ripe for manifestation. And yet, a question lingered in the hearts of all who believed. What deliverance awaited them in the coming storm? The mystery of God's plan was still unfolding, and with it, whispered promises remained tucked within the shadows of time, awaiting their appointed hour. As the sun rose, casting golden rays upon the weary yet hopeful faces of the Israelites, Gershom felt a divine compulsion swell within him. He gathered the people once more, their hearts still buoyed by the hymns of praise sung the day before. My brothers and sisters, he began, his voice ringing with authority. Today marks a turning point, for the Lord has heard our cries, and remembers his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. With bated breath, the people leaned closer, their eyes fixed upon him as if searching the depths of his soul for assurance. The burden may be heavy, Gershom continued, emboldened by the Spirit. But the Lord our God has promised a deliverance that we cannot yet comprehend. As the prophet Isaiah spoke, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. But as Gershom spoke, his heart could not shake the growing weight of despair that swirled among the laborers, sweat-drenched and weary from Pharaoh's new demands. The yoke upon them was heavier, and they were growing weary in spirit. In the bustling streets the taskmasters cracked their whips, driving the people like cattle. The sound echoed against stone and sand, a harsh reminder of their subjugation. Among the crowd, an old man named Eliakim approached Gershom. His face was lined with despair. "Will the Lord deliver us for certain? My bones ache under the weight and my hope wanes daily." Gershom placed a comforting hand on Eliakim's shoulder. "Fear not, for he who has promised is faithful. We must endure, for deliverance comes to those who wait upon the Lord," he said, drawing strength from the divine reassurance he had received. And so, amid the crushing labor, Gershom encouraged the people with a resolve that seemed unusual against the backdrop of such oppression. Each day, he led them in song and prayer, their harmonies entwined with faith, echoing through the heavy air. "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Psalm 27:1. Days turned into weeks, and Pharaoh's wrath grew with every note of praise that arose from the lips of the Israelites. In the darkened chambers of his palace, he seethed with fury, devising a plan to further crush the spirit of the people. "If they will not submit to the burden, let us take their hope as well," he declared to his council, his eyes cold and calculating. As the Israelites continued their toil, an unexpected figure appeared on the outskirts of their encampment. A clandestine messenger stirred with urgency, having heard the rumors of rebellion. It was Aaron, Gershom's older brother, and a man with an eloquent tongue. "Gershom," he called, rushing into the gathering, "the Lord has revealed to me that he has a plan that will unfold before our eyes. We are to confront Pharaoh. Our cries, our faith, will manifest as powerful acts of divine sovereignty." Gershom looked into the eyes of his brother, recognizing the weight of the moment before them. "You too have heard the voice of God?" he asked, filled with reverence. "Aye," Aaron replied, his voice steady. "The time has come for us to rise as one. We are to speak boldly before Pharaoh, as Moses will lead us to our redemption." The atmosphere shifted palpably, for in their midst, the realization of a shared destiny dawned. Little did they know, God's plans ran deeper still, intertwining their fates with a lineage forged in purpose. In the darkness of oppression, a child was growing hidden in the shadows, a deliverer who would carry forth the divine promise. Thus, the hearts of the Israelites ignited with hope anew, but as their faith surged, so did the lingering question. Would they truly be able to confront the very face of oppression that loomed over them like a storm? The stage was set, and God's sovereign plan was about to unfold with unimaginable power. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the dusty encampment, Gershom and Aaron stood gathered with the leaders of the tribes. Their words echoed with urgency, a clarion call to action. The weight of their new mission settled upon them like a mantle, heavy yet electrifying. "Brothers, sisters," Gershom began, looking into the eyes of his people, "it is time for us to rise up. The Lord is with us. Resist not his call." A murmuring swept through the crowd, a blend of trepidation and longing. Would they dare approach Pharaoh, the very embodiment of their oppression? Yet the voice of God resounded louder than their fears. Inspired, Aaron added, "Our God has instructed us. We shall go before Pharaoh with the words of the Almighty. He is our shield and our fortress." The people began to gather their strength, recalling the promises spoken in days of old. They remembered the voice of Moses, the child preserved from death, and they felt a stirring of hope. Eliakim stepped forward again, his frail frame shaking, yet a glimmer of faith lit his eyes. "If the Lord is with us, who can stand against us?" His conviction sparked a flame among the bystanders. With a renewed spirit, the elders convened as night fell, canvassing their thoughts and drawing from the depths of their shared history. They recounted the tales of Abraham's covenant, how the Lord had promised to multiply his descendants as the stars of heaven. The collective memory inspired courage to swell in their hearts. "Let us not forget the words of the psalmist," declared Miriam, sister of Aaron, her voice clear and powerful. "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." Psalm 34:18. Her words became an anthem, reverberating within them, fortifying their weary hearts against the weight of their plight. The next morning, Gershom stood at the forefront. The people gathered fervently behind him, their spirits ignited. As the sun peeked over the horizon, they sought Pharaoh's court, their resolve unyielding. They marched with purpose, each footstep an echo of their faith, a defiance of the oppression that had long circled them like vultures before a feast. Upon arrival at Pharaoh's palace, a tension filled the air, palpable and thick. The guards eyed them warily, but the collective voice of the Israelites rose, vibrating with determination as they called out, "Pharaoh, we are here in the name of the Lord God of Israel. Let us go that we may worship him in freedom." Pharaoh's cold laughter echoed as he dismissed them, his heart hardened against their pleas. "Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice? I know not the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Exodus 5:2. A wave of despair washed over the Israelites at his words, but Gershom felt the stirrings of divine assurance. "Fear not, for the Lord has not forsaken us. The deliverer is among us, and his power is yet to unfold." But in the palace, Pharaoh conspired with his advisers, darkening the plans of men with schemes against the children of Israel. The callousness of his heart revealed the depths of his tyranny. As evening fell, a sense of foreboding shadowed the Israelites, yet the unyielding promise of God lingered, whispering truths of hope and divine turnaround. And in the concealing shadows, God's hand was preparing something remarkable. Moses, the destined deliverer, bore witness to the growing plight of his people. Unbeknownst to him, his very life was intricately woven into the tapestry of their liberation, and the sovereign purpose that guided him would soon be revealed. Though the weight of despair hung heavily, a divine mystery loomed. Their hearts echoed with a singular longing. How would God unfurl his redemptive plan? The answer remained cloaked in the promise known only to him, and the unfolding of history waited with bated breath, poised for the revelation. In the fading light of the evening, the cries of the Israelites lingered in the air, heavy like the promise of rain after a long drought. Meanwhile, Moses, oblivious to the stirring beneath him, stood alone in the presence of his thoughts by the banks of the Nile. The waters glistened like jewels, yet his heart felt burdened by the weight of his identity, a fugitive, raised within the palace, yet a son of the oppressed. As night descended, he found himself wrestling with the memories of his past, the sights of his people in bondage, and the flash of his own impulsive act of violence that had led him to flee. Could I ever return, he pondered, a sense of longing mingled with fear filling his spirit. Is there a purpose for one such as I? But as he prayed earnestly, a sudden rustle within the nearby reeds drew his attention. From the dense underbrush, a slender figure emerged, his son, Gershom, carrying the torch of fire that he often lit during their nights of storytelling. "Father!" the boy called, his voice lighting up the darkness like the flame in his hand. "Gershom!" Moses knelt, embracing him, the warmth emanating from the fire reflecting the love in his heart. "What brings you here, my son?" "I wanted to hear the tales of our ancestors, the stories of God's promises," Gershom replied, his eyes shining with anticipation. "Yes," Moses agreed, a mixture of pride and grief flooding him. "The God who called Abraham from the land of his fathers, who bound covenant with him and made him a father to many. He has not forgotten us." In that moment, the two sat by the riverbank, the elder whispering to the younger of God's faithfulness and the sacred lineage from which they came. The fragrance of the earth, moist from the evening dew, surrounded them as he spoke of Joseph's rise and the nation's deliverance through him, of the oppression that had befallen their family. Yet within Moses, a flicker of divine urgency ignited. Could it be that God had chosen him? Was the weight of his lineage more significant than he had presumed? The cry of his people echoed louder than the river's song, and he recognized in his heart a call rising above his self-doubt, a call to serve. As the stars adorned the night sky like the everlasting covenant of God, a divine revelation came over him. The very hour he had longed to avoid had come upon him unawares. His heart quickened as he envisioned the cries of the Israelites mingled with the thunderous authority of the Lord God, a cosmic harmony poised for liberation. Meanwhile, in Pharaoh's court, a shadowy figure enshrouded in deceit plotted against the child of Israel. The heart of the king was hardened, emboldened by pride, and blinded to the power of the God of Israel. "Let them toil," he declared to his advisers. "They shall know neither respite nor release. Who are they to challenge me?" Yet unbeknownst to Pharaoh, the very cries of anguish that he dismissed were walking hand in hand with the author of their deliverance. With every moment that passed, the timeline of divine enactment drew closer as God orchestrated his master plan. Moses felt an overwhelming tug in his spirit, a whisper that would not release him. The holy promise woven through time spoke to him, carried on the winds of the night, and drawing nearer was the moment of revelation. The Lord would raise him as a spearhead of salvation, to illuminate the path of deliverance. But how would such a prophet arise from the folds of shame and a life lived far from the cries of his people? Would he summon the courage to abandon the safety of the past, take hold of his destiny, and embrace the calling that still reverberated in the depths of his being? As dawn approached, deep within the heart of Moses, the truth simmered. A promise awaited to unfurl. The intricate plan of the Almighty was poised at the brink of execution, compelling every soul to inquire, who could ready themselves for such a moment? The tapestry of the covenant was preparing to unveil the fullness of God's redemption, waiting in the shadows of their expectation. As the first light of dawn broke over the fields of Egypt, casting a golden hue upon the dusty paths, Moses' heart wrestled with the burgeoning realization of his divine calling. Drawn near by the cries of his people, he felt the weight of their suffering resting heavily upon his shoulders. Could I ever be the instrument of their deliverance? He questioned, his eyes searching the horizon for a sign. Yet even as doubt threatened to cloud his purpose, the words spoken to him in the stillness of night echoed within. "I have surely seen the affliction of my people," the Lord had reassured him through the ages, "and I have heard their cry." This sacred promise kindled a fire within Moses, an ember growing into a torch calling him forth. Returning to the present, he watched as Gershom played by the bank, immersed in the glittering waters. The child, unaware of the tempest churning in his father's soul, represented hope and continuity, a lineage woven into the very fabric of God's plan. "Father, tell me again of the stories." Gershom's joyful voice cut through the murmur of the river. Moses knelt beside his son, his heart swelling. "Yes, my son. Our ancestors walked with God and found favor in his sight." He spoke of how the Lord had made a way where there seemed to be none, how Joseph, sold into slavery, had risen to prominence in Egypt and had saved many from famine. He felt a resolve surge within him, a surge rooted in the faith of his forefathers. At that moment, a presence brushed against the reeds, as if the very breath of God was stirring. A gentle wind whipped around them, ruffling the leaves and beckoning Moses to listen more intently. "If you will deliver them, Lord," he prayed within the depths of his spirit, "then teach me to lead them." Across the expanse of the Nile, Pharaoh's heart remained hardened, a fortress of defiance against the cries of the oppressed. "This people has grown too numerous," he rumbled with disdain in the chambers of his court. His advisers nodded in fearful agreement, but a discordant tone of uncertainty crept upon the assembly. "What if they unite and rise against us?" Unbeknownst to the king, the winds of heaven were shifting. The cries of the Israelites, once a mere echo within his palace, now rang as a clarion call before the throne of God. His disdain would be met with divine might, yet that truth was shrouded in the folds of time yet to untangle. "Who am I?" Moses murmured, feeling the weight of his life choices and the scars of his past. But as he prayed, a fire ignited in his spirit. The very presence of the Lord began to envelop him. "I will be with you." The voice echoed through the chambers of his mind, reassuring and formidable. "And this shall be a sign to you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." In those divine moments, a profound clarity washed over Moses. He saw not himself, burdened by failure and self-doubt, but rather a servant shaped by grace and ordained for greatness. As the sun climbed higher, painting the sky with purpose, he stood resolute. "I shall return," he declared quietly to his son, "with promises fulfilled." A stirring hope gathered strength in his soul, and he felt the palpable presence of destiny calling him forth. But as he gazed back at the expanse of Egypt, a new fear crept in, intertwining with his courage. Would his people believe him? Would he convince them that the God of their fathers had indeed sent him? Thus, as daybreak burst forth, the journey ahead loomed daunting yet exhilarating, leaving behind questions that danced among the shadows. Who would heed the call of the deliverer? What wonders lay ahead as the divine plan began to reveal itself? The winds of change beckoned, readying the heart of Moses for the unfolding narrative of God's enduring redemption. And it came to pass that as Moses turned his gaze towards the distant land of Egypt, his heart waged war between fear and faith. He strode forth, a man barely steady on the path of obedience, yet the flame of purpose burned brightly within him. "If I am to go," he prayed, "then grant me the words to speak, for I am but a shepherd, unlearned in the tongues of kings." In those earnest moments the Lord spoke to him from the heavens, saying, "Surely I will be with you, and you shall speak as I command." With renewed vigor, Moses approached the flame that flickered in his spirit, a beacon guiding him toward his calling. "Who shall I say has sent me?" he implored, his voice heavy with uncertainty. "Say unto them, I am has sent you," resonated that mighty voice, echoing across the expanse, filled with authority and grace. "This is my name forever, and this is my memorial to all generations." A silence enveloped him, and he felt the weight of the holy name pressing against his very being. Moses, caught in the majesty of the moment, shivered in awe of the great I Am, knowing that such a name held boundless power. Yet he faltered once more, "But behold, they shall not believe me, nor heed my voice." His heart trembled as he considered the unyielding hearts of the people, shackled by their sorrow. The Lord, generous in mercy, promised him signs that would unveil God's sovereignty to the doubting heart. "What is in your hand?" he asked. With hesitant fingers, Moses held out his staff, a simple tool of the shepherd, yet it was bestowed with divine potential. "Cast it down," commanded the Lord. As the staff fell upon the earth, it became a serpent, fierce and alive. With a holy fear, Moses recoiled. "Take it up by the tail," instructed the Lord, and he did so, and it became a staff once more. "By this you shall signify to the people that I am with you," the Lord declared with power. "And if they still do not believe, put your hand inside your bosom." Moses obeyed, retrieving a hand white as snow, leprous, a vivid testament of divine power over life itself. "Once more they shall see the wonders I will perform in your midst." And assured of divine signs, Moses with trembling lips uttered, "But I am not eloquent, I am slow of speech." He feared the weight of the burden thrust upon him, and again the Lord's voice thundered, "Who made your mouth? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, for I shall be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say." As Moses stood in that sacred moment, he recognized the truth. He was a vessel, not of his own making, but fashioned by the hand of the Creator. Yet in the depths of his soul, a lingering reluctance clawed at him. "Oh, my Lord," he exclaimed, "please send someone else." In his pleading, the Lord's anger kindled, not in wrath, but in passion for his people. "Behold your brother Aaron the Levite, he speaks well. I will send him to you, and he shall be your mouth," declared the Almighty with unyielding resolve. Filled with newfound purpose, Moses went back to his family, gathering his strength as he prepared to confront Pharaoh and lead his people into freedom. But as he journeyed toward Egypt, he could feel the weight of the heavens upon him, the air thick with expectancy. He knew not the full scope of what awaited him. Each step toward Pharaoh whispered of confrontation, of plagues, of signs and wonders, yet to be unfolded before a watching world. For in the unseen places, amidst the weary cries of the Israelites and the stubborn heart of a king, a divine tapestry was being woven. And thus, as the dust rose beneath his feet, Moses sensed a greater truth. The Lord was not merely sending him as a deliverer, he was orchestrating a deliverance that would echo through generations. But what signs would compel the oppressor to yield? What obstacles lay ahead in the path of obedience? As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the shadows deepened, leaving unanswered questions alive in the hearts of those who would witness God's unfolding plan. A plan that would draw Israel out of bondage into the light of freedom, revealing his glory through the ages. In the days that followed, the air crackled with divine anticipation, for the moment of reckoning had come upon Egypt. The cries of the Israelites continued to rise like incense before the Lord, mingling with the chill of impending confrontation. Moses stood at the threshold, heart entwined with courage and trepidation as he prepared to face Pharaoh, the hardened ruler who held his people in chains. After reuniting with Aaron, the voice of the Lord echoed clearly in Moses' heart. "Go, and I will be with you. You are my chosen vessel, and through you I shall demonstrate my power." With eyes alight with purpose, Moses gathered his kin, the elders, and the hopeful Israelites. Today we embark on a holy mission, guided by the hand of the Almighty. As they journeyed toward Pharaoh's palace, the weight of history bore down on their steps. The murmurs of hope rippled among the people, their hearts buoyed by whispered promises of liberation. Yet shadows of doubt lingered like specters at the fringes of faith. "Will he heed our request?" some whispered, while others closed their eyes and sought the Lord in fervent prayer. Upon reaching the gates of Pharaoh's court, the atmosphere turned tense as they stood before the throne of the most powerful man in Egypt, flanked by guards clad in the armor of oppression. "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, let my people go that they may serve me," Moses declared, his voice steady, though fear clawed at the edges of his resolve. Pharaoh's laughter, cold, mocking, and arrogant, echoed throughout the grand chamber. "Who is this Lord that I should obey him? I know not this God of yours," he retorted, his words a chilling reminder of the brutal grip he held on the lives of the Israelites. For a fleeting moment, despair threatened to overwhelm the people gathered, but Moses felt the fire of the Lord rekindle within him. "Still, our cries shall not be silenced. We shall show you the power of the Lord," Aaron interjected with unwavering strength. The sound of his boldness cut through the air like a sword, igniting a flame of courage within. Together they lifted their staffs, simple symbols rising against the might of a kingdom. They cast down the rod, and it transformed into a serpent, a sign of God's unyielding authority. The magicians of Egypt mocked and mirrored this sign, but when Aaron's serpent consumed their rods, the air throbbed with revelation. Pharaoh's heart, however, remained unyielded and defiant. He refused to acknowledge the God who could turn a rod to a serpent and hardened his resolve further. But the Lord would not be denied. Moses returned to him. "Speak again with boldness, for I will bring forth plagues upon Egypt," he commanded. The weight of necessary trials lay ahead, each one a decisive step toward liberation. With every affliction, the might of Pharaoh's indifference would be tested against the overwhelming grace and power of God. As the days darkened, each plague unfolded with divine precision. The Nile turned to blood, frogs filled the land, gnats covered the dust, flies plagued their homes, the Egyptian livestock succumbed to pestilence, boils broke forth upon men and beasts alike. Through these signs the Lord demonstrated his sovereignty, each moment revealing Pharaoh's heart further emboldened in resistance. Yet amidst the chaos, amidst the anger and grief, the Israelites began to rise. They sang the songs of their forefathers, and each plague ignited their hope. They felt vindicated as the realization dawned. Finally, God was fighting for them. With each refusal from Pharaoh, the stage was set for judgment. The ultimate affliction loomed on the horizon, the death of the firstborn. The Lord had provided a means of protection for his people. "Take a lamb, pure and without blemish, slay it, and spread its blood on the doorposts of your homes. When the angel of death sees the blood, he will pass over you." Moses conveyed this night of deliverance, and fear mixed with anticipation filled the hearts of the faithful. As night descended, families gathered, trembling with hope as they painted the symbols of salvation. The blood of the Lamb upon their doorways illuminated their homes, each heartbeat resonating with a promise. Tonight, the Lord would save. At midnight, a great cry rang out in Egypt, shattering the night with anguish as the firstborn of every household succumbed. Actually, in the homes of the Israelites, there was peace. They remained protected, the blood echoing the promise of God's salvation. Pharaoh, awakened to tragedy, summoned Moses and Aaron with a tremor of fear. "Go, take your people and leave this land," he cried, realizing the futility of resisting the Most High God. The Israelites, now emboldened, departed from bondage, their feet quickening with every step toward freedom. Gershom walked among them, his heart swelling with pride and purpose, witnessing God's mighty hand at work. Alongside his father, he felt the weight of history shift. They were no longer a people in chains, but a new creation rising into the glorious light of deliverance. As they crossed the threshold, the spirit of unity surged among the people. They knew God had not only met their cries but had woven their story into a legacy of hope, transforming despair into triumphant praise. "I Am is with us," they declared, voices lifted in harmony. A generation reborn, entire in faith and conviction. As they approached the Red Sea, the waves parted, witnessing the power of God's might. The path before them was lit with promise, and they would never look back. Redemption had come, and as they walked through the waters, every soul shuddered with the knowledge of the covenant fulfilled. The enemy that loomed behind them would be no more. Victory rang in the air as they crossed into freedom, and the triumph sang throughout the heavens above. Gershom caught the eyes of his father, the weight of legacy transformed into a bright future. And as Moses and the people sang the songs of their deliverance, the memory of suffering dissolved, for they understood. They were chosen. They were redeemed. They belonged to the Lord. In their midst, they knew without a doubt the God who had seen their afflictions had now led them into freedom. Their redemption was the beginning of an eternal testimony, a tapestry of hope that would resonate through the generations, called to worship in spirit and truth. Now, beloved, as we reflect on this awe-inspiring journey of deliverance, I urge you, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm. Comment your spiritual reflections and how this biblical story impacted your faith. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's word. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Let's light the way for others to witness His incredible grace.